Hey everybody, it's a new STG Weekly episode coming at you in the new year. We'll be covering Raiden DX. So we've got this great flyer. We put a link in the chat. So I'm going to read that for you. This is the F-Man, aka Frenetic, and we're going to read this out for you. The best flying game ever just got even better. Raiden DX keeps the proven Raiden mystique alive with 3 games in 1. It's bigger, better, and faster than ever. 2 new mystery stages will challenge players like they've never been challenged before. Mega missions, death-defying duels, and maniac maneuvers. They're all here. Optional third button continuous fire puts awesome power at their fingertips. This is the big one. Maybe we should change our name to the Flying Game Weekly. These are flying games here in put out by FabTech. Anyways, I'm going to hand this off. It's my pleasure to introduce our co-hosts here. We've got Aquas.
We're back, yo.
And last but not least, we've got ggmaximo.
What's up, everybody? Long time no see.
So, just want to let you know we're giving you more STG Weekly episodes. We're going to split this up into 2 parts. So this is part 1 of a part 2 episode. So just keep that in mind. Make sure to watch the next episode in the future. But without further ado, I'm going to go headed off to ggmaximo.
All right, then. So this is Raiden DX. This is basically a 1.5 sequel to the infamous and very difficult Raiden 2, which was covered back in Shooting Game Weekly 115. Just for a little bit of background information, the reason why Raiden DX was made in the first place was Raiden 2 was sort of a game where Seibu Kaihatsu was trying to balance expectations between arcade coin operators to generate profit, balance difficulty between hardcore players and then casual players, and then also have kind of a lightning in a bottle situation like the original Raiden did, where the game sold extremely well for a long period of time. However, what ended up happening with Raiden 2's release, as I've also personally seen as I've cleared Raiden 2 last year, is the game is very, very difficult just to start off with. And from interviews I've read, one of the main ex-Seibu Kaihatsu developers talks about how Raiden 2 did well in arcade game centers in big cities, but had a very difficult time in other arcade locations. And because of this, disparity in income, likely because people were probably getting killed very early on by the game's ruthless difficulty, developers within Seibu Kaihatsu kind of started brainstorming about how they could make a updated version of Raiden 2, and didn't want to make a game whose success was dependent on the location of the game center. And basically, for them, they were noticing other developments within the shooting game scene at the time. And one of them was adding the option of some sort of difficulty selection. And the way they incorporated this in Raiden DX is making 3 separate modes. The first one is a training mode, which is sort of kind of a beginner's course into Raiden DX and classic Raiden games. It has new enemy placements and a unique end boss. They also created a novice mode, which is basically an easier version of the first 5 stages of Raiden 2, and created an expert course, which features completely new enemy placements, new color palette variations, same bosses, of course, but it's 8 stages. And basically, they consider this to be the true version of Raiden 2, which incorporates feedback of the market.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that it's pretty interesting that they wanted to make like a more approachable version, and that was because in that translation, in that interview, they mentioned that there was over 16,000 game centers in Japan.
Yeah.
And that's like, they got arcades in the spas and like the bath resorts and all sorts of things. And yeah, you have to imagine a lot of people like at these just random locations, they're just not expert shooting game players everywhere. So it's not too surprising that Raiden 2 is like it was too hard for a lot of people when you have 16,000 game centers scattered across the whole country, especially at a time like that. So it's like,
yeah,
it seems like in that interview, they, it was actually a pretty big priority for them to do this as a marketing decision. So really smart.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that it's really interesting that so this interview is on Shmuplations, the one that we're talking about, and you can look that by our wonderful Black Oak. And the developer is Komozawa Toshinobu, the CEO of Moss and former graphics designer at Seibu Kaihatsu. Just wanted to add also, it's interesting to see that these developments in Raiden DX are in later, like, let's say, cave games that have like a novice mode, original mode, and Maniac and then God or Ultra, in order to kind of capture the whole skill level and abilities of shooting game players, or aka flying game players.
Yeah, I feel like we're seeing that basically just repeated in the modern day for like the worldwide audience, not just all of Japan. So it's actually pretty cool that
that's
kind of end up playing out like that, where Raiden DX pioneered that idea.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even personally, like, there used to be a Raiden 2 cap at my local pier, and I don't think I saw anybody ever get past stage 2 because of just the whole, it's very different from the start, and on any sort of Western cabs, you're not going to see any sort of auto fire being installed, so you pretty much have to utilize plasma for that version.
Yeah. I think that's so interesting that autofire is included in Raiden DX as like a dip switch or a service menu setting, right?
Yeah, it is just for export versions. It's a separate button. It's like button 3, what it would be in MAME, or on the cabinet. It's, I think, around 15 hertz last I checked.
Oh, okay.
But for whatever reason, it's not on the Japanese version.
Yeah, maybe they're like no auto fire. Maybe there's still no auto fire. I would love to have heard the discussion about export versions of Raiden DX when they made that intervention and then like put that in. I wonder if it was like a EEPROM reprogramming, or like if they had to put an extra chip.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So any reverse engineers out there would love to hear that question answered too. From that, I'll leave it to you. I guess I'll interject with some stuff from the interview as it comes up. But yeah, thanks a lot, GG. Take it away.
Yeah, I was just going to get back to probably talking about some of the game's basics, which I will pull from the very methodical and detailed strategy guide created by a Western player named Saucy Kobold, who created this really in-depth detail guide that was a great help to getting in the game. So the power system is very similar to Raiden 2. You start out with your base Vulcan shot. By destroying certain item carriers, they drop these weapon items, which can color change between the red Vulcan weapon, the blue laser weapon, and the purple plasma weapon. There are 2 initial color changes that this can be, which is either 80 frames or 180 frames, and then subsequent changes will be 160 frames. So basically what this means is sometimes the color of the weapon item will change faster than you can anticipate, so usually it makes sense to just give it a little bit of time before you pick up your weapon item of choice. There are, I believe, 6 or 7 different power levels until you're fully powered up with Vulcan. Vulcan's usually the item you want to use for pretty much the majority of the game, besides laser you want to use on the stage 6 boss. Plasma doesn't really get any sort of utilization in auto fire runs just because if I remember right, its damage is actually not as good as Raiden 2's, even though they went the extra effort to put in some additional sprite and graphical effects to the laser as it locks onto an enemy and curves around to kill everything in its path.
Oh, wow.
You also have 2 sub-weapon items, which are the nuclear missiles, which, very powerful, but they're slow and they fire straight in front of you, as well as the homing sub-weapon. Those have a maximum of 4 power levels before you're fully maxed out. And usually for most of the game, you want to be going with Red Vulcan and the homing sub-weapon because that's just what deals the most damage. You also have 2 different types of bombs in this game, which are the thermonuclear bombs and the cluster bombs. The thermonuclear bombs are like the classic, like OG Raiden bombs where, it takes a long time for it to deploy, but you have this huge circular area of damage in front of you and does a lot of damage, while cluster just releases a bunch of these mini shrapnel like napalm bombs around you that protect you from the sides and even from the back. Some other differences is 1P side always starts with 1P, usually it starts with thermonuclear, and then 2P usually starts with cluster, depending on when you pick your mode on the start screen. There's like a little red or yellow indicator on the Raiden DX logo after you insert a credit. And when you hit start on that, that will determine what bomb you start out with.
Are you saying like the logo like changes and you gotta time your start press?
Yeah, so after you put in a credit in this game, you go to the course select screen and there's like a little, forget if it's like a specific letter or lightning, but it'll switch between red or yellow, and depending on when you press start to select your course, if you select it when it's red, you'll get the thermonuclear bombs. If you select it when it's yellow, you'll get the cluster bombs to start out with.
It's pretty cool.
Also in this game, people usually play it on 2-player side because there are no more checkpoint limitations. If you die, you just respawn on both sides. So basically what this means is you want to pick the 2-player side because when it hits that when it changes into like the upgraded form of the ship, it gains faster horizontal speed but slower vertical speed, and that makes it very ideal for sweeping from one side of the screen to the next, and just overall coverage is much better than the 1-player ship.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, I would much rather have horizontal faster speed than vertical speed, because it's kind of rare that you rush towards the top of the screen, right?
Yeah.
Unless if you're like speed killing, up at the top.
Correct. There's only limited utilization of point blank outside of like certain big enemies and bosses, so a lot of the time going vertically puts you in greater danger of getting sniped on the sides. What else? Oh yeah, also when you die in this game, if you're fully powered up, so in stage 1 there's a fairy you can collect, and if you die, what ends up happening is it'll usually give you the next 5 items from the item sequence. One notable thing they did change was when you have your first death and you're fully powered up and have a fairy in stock, you'll get usually get a P drop, which is a full power up, and if you already have a shot and like a sub weapon shot, it'll raise it to maximum level. That alone makes, I think, approaching even expert mode much more doable than Raiden 2, where generally if you died like before the final stage, the only point that was really recoverable was maybe like late stage 5 because of the way that the item order works, and that you would get usually like the full power-up drop. But here you don't have to really worry about that, and usually on your first def fully powered up, you'll get that full power-up and just be able to jump right back in. Sometimes you can...
You wouldn't always get the full power-up in Raiden 2 when you die?
Oh, no. No, because the way the item order works in that game, it would just throw off like the next 5 items in the item sequence.
Oh.
So
and nothing
because
to do
of
with
that,
the fairy.
Well, the fairy's there just to give you like the 4 or 5 items in the next item sequence.
Oh, right.
But the problem is like because it's just based on the item order alone. If you miss like the full power up, if you already picked like the full power up or whatever item, basically it goes back to whatever was next in the item sequence after that. And a lot of times it would just throw you like a bunch of shot items, a couple shot items and like a bomb, which usually like at later stages is just not enough to like really recover on unless you're like near a boss.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
Like it's very easy to chain up basically.
Raiden 2 doesn't have checkpoints, or it has checkpoints?
So Raiden 2, it doesn't have checkpoints on the 1-player side, but it does in the Japanese version on the 2-player side.
Wow.
So because of this, if you want to have any sort of competitive score on the Japanese version, you have to play with the 1-player ship and its limitations, which is the slow bomb deployment, slower horizontal speed when upgraded.
Wow. I wonder, I'll have to take a look at like the high scores for Raiden 2 if like 2-player checkpoints are in, and maybe see how like well crafted, like if they're like Toa plan checkpoints, as in Cobra, you know, or are they over?
Honestly, like I played a little bit of the 2-player side. I don't think the checkpoints are really well done at all, because you just get like maybe a couple items and then one other item carrier if you're lucky from the fairy. But a lot of times, because a lot of these stage sections at the late game require you to be at full power, you just don't have enough resources to like really do much except from maybe hobble to the next checkpoint if you are good enough. Like, I don't know. It was bad enough that I was just like, I didn't really feel like messing with that. It wasn't something like it wasn't something like Same 1-player, where even if you like die relatively early on, you still have a default like pretty like strong like level 0 level 1 shot that you could reasonably make it to the next checkpoint. And also that game had a stage which gives you a ton of bombs and power up items that makes it pretty feasible to recover there if you die early on. But I don't feel like this is the same case if you're playing on Raiden 2's 2-player side.
Seems kind of like the opposite of Raiden 1, where 2-player side was easier and there was no repercussion, right?
Yeah. I have to wonder if they're just kind of trolling people with that, just flipping it around. So I know like a lot of people complained about that on 2's release, where they're like, why is this so much harder? Why do you have like the checkpoints here? And a lot of times Seibu is just kind of saying stuff like, this is a commercial product, not art.
Well, at least like Raiden 1 set the precedent for 2-player being different, so at least people like kind of notice in 2 and DX that 2-player side would be different.
Exactly.
I love that. I like so the first also innovation was by Seibu Kaihatsu, the first get good or don't ask me for shit is this is a commercial game, not art. Wow.
Yeah.
Lots of innovations here by Seibu Kaihatsu.
Yeah, and then ended up kind of biting them with the sales fan I mentioned earlier. So in the end, they ended up having to make adjustments anyways to make a game that might have better income and longer sustainability, which...
We're going deep in the lore, deep lore here. Yeah, no, it's good. That's what you want here. This is STG Weekly, giving you the deep lore.
Also, before we move on, I would also like to mention this game also does have a secondary scoring system, which the previous games did not have. and that is in the form of a proto-Saikyo flashing metal system. And the way that this works is when you shoot certain objects or like item boxes, it uncovers the gold and silver metals. These exposed metals will gradually dual in color and decrease in overall value. And about 40 frames or so, which is like 2/3 of a second after turning completely dark, the metal will then flash and be worth its maximum value for 15 frames. Afterwards, it will then return to its minimum value state forever. And basically what this means is if you collect the yellow metal values, when it's uncovered, it's 500. That point value will decrease to 10 when it's completely dull. In the brief second that it flashes, the yellow metal value will be 3,000 points. For blue metals, when it's flashing, it will be 10,000 points. When you collect 3 items at full value, the next metal hiding spot is instead replaced with a Miculus, which is Seibu's mascot from The Wiz. And basically, the Miculus will walk in place for several seconds before pausing. And then after 1 second after it stops, it halts its movement, the Miculus will flinch for 10 frames, which is 1/6 of a second. And during this period of time, it's worth 50,000 points.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, there's one. Okay, we got one on screen here too, so this is perfect.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting optimization that you can do with timing your metal pickups, getting Miculus's at the right time, and then getting those for a pretty substantial portion of your score. And in a way, I feel like this is kind of a precursor to Saikyo's stuff because Gunver doesn't really have anything like that released in the same year. And then the next year, Strikers comes out, and you notice that game has kind of a modified version of the flashing metal system where it'll just continually go between like those 4 different values, but you want to pick it up at maximum for like the 2K.
Who knew that there was like so much innovation in like Raiden DX that was adopted again? Now we have Saikyo. First we have Cave putting in multiple difficulties, and now we have the metal system, kind of the flash system, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy, like how much this game really innovated, like subtly, and was just kind of incorporated in different ways in other games later on. But it just doesn't really get talked about that much. So,
well, now you hear it here on STG Weekly, bringing it again the deep low.
And in the interview, they said, you know, after Raiden came out, you know, there was a lot of Raiden clones and that type of thing. And then since they knew they were like the innovator, they felt pressure to keep innovating for like 2 and DX, and then of course Raiden Fighters Jet, or rather Raiden Fighters series, which kind of, you know, blew the cap off on like scoring tricks.
Yeah, exactly. Those ones are very much designed to be score-centric games from the get-go.
Yeah, they even developed the SPI PCB hardware after Raiden DX with that push, you know, so.
Yeah, exactly. There's also, in training novice courses, there are these hidden radars where you have to do certain requirements in order to get the gold radar to appear, and then when they're destroyed, they give you a substantial amount of points. And then those point totals are also incorporated at the end of the Novin's, like the results of Novin's courts, like calculations for secrets covered. That will be something I probably talk a little bit more about once we get into the Novin's run. There's also a boss time bonus where the faster you kill a boss, you'll receive more points.
Well, that being said, shall we get into the novice run?
Sure.
Or whatever.
Sounds good.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I can do Novin's first. That's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Let me just pull it up on my end.
All right, cool. Let's get it queued up. I'm queuing mine up too.
Looks like it looks like you start like off the title screen.
Yeah, I didn't start at the title screen because I was making a bunch of errors on previous runs and then just doing quick resets.
Classic.
Here you go. So we're doing the novice 1-5 all run. That's 36 minutes and 46 seconds.
I was going to do the novice all 6 million.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Wanted to double check. Awesome.
Yeah, just for reference, guys, basically at the beginning of this run, what I do here is just you insert a credit, and then at the credit select or at the course select screen, I hit start on novice while the letterage is yellow, and as a result, that's why I start with the 2P side ship with cluster bombs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Whenever you're ready, ggmaximo, just let us know. I have it queued up at 000. Is that where you want to start?
That is correct.
Okay, cool. And,
Cool. Good to go.
I'm good to go as well. I got it queued up and ready for the countdown.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so stage 1 here for novice mode is very similar enemy layout to Raiden 2. Pretty much what we're trying to do here is just power up as much as possible. And then what you might notice too at the beginning is there's these little gray markers on the ground. Interestingly enough, if you hover over them, you actually uncover a soul, which when destroyed gives you a little bit of point value, and adds to your overall enemy destruction rate.
Oh, wow. That's kind of like the Xevious, right? They
Correct.
have kind of a similar innovation with that.
Yeah. Right. Even though here it's actually a bit more tied to like overall scoring, which, you know, that comes with the territory. It's like 12 years after. Here I missed a couple of medals because I just could not get the timing for the love of me to work early on. Usually what I try to do is get 3 of those flashing medals, then I can trigger a Vinculus at the next medal drop right ahead here.
I think that's so cool. You don't toss the run when you do miss it. You know, you're just gonna
Here, that's where the first goal in radar is. You could actually delay killing it by just using splash damage of your missiles to get a few more points, but I opted just to kill it. Just so I don't miss the next medal up here.
That probably influenced your decision for missing the other ones.
Correct. You have to kind of play a bit on the fly if you miss certain medals to make sure you're still ahead, like score pace wise. If you just want to survival clear, you don't have to worry about the medals as much. You can just use basic survival strats and just power up as much as possible.
Nice Nicholas Flash collection for that 50,000 that you mentioned.
Yep, there I accidentally pick up laser, which usually you want to keep a Vulcan. That being said, it's not a terrible weapon if you need it for the first fight. The first walker here you can just easily destroy, same as Raiden 2. Then what you can do here is for the second walker, you just wait for it to fire the spread and then pick up the flashing metal and then point blank at the top. You want to make sure that you misdirect the spread as the fires off to the side or the top of the screen.
How important is to quick kill, like with that the time counter that you were seeing?
It's pretty substantial because in the formula that Saucy has written down, there's a pretty big decrease in time from 0 to 10 seconds, and then 10 to 20 seconds, and then anything over 20 seconds is quite a bit lower. Even though in the actual board, which we'll talk about in part 2, you actually get more points from the boss bonus for killing stuff quickly versus arcade. All right, so stage 2, it's kind of a simplified version of Raiden 2 Stage 2, where there's a lot of these sniper tanks that pop out from the sides of the buildings here, which you just have to be cognizant of so you don't get sniped.
Man, the freaking shrapnel landing on the ground, I don't think I've noticed that before, but like no shmups do that. So good.
Yeah. They put a lot of detail into the graphical effects for enemies in this game. There's multiple ways that they can go down to, which is cool.
Look at them cows.
Oh yeah, gotta love the cows.
And you can see their heads bopping up and down and tails waggling. That's detail.
Cow jam.
Yeah. The precursor to flamingos that Battle Borrego would adopt. Put livestock, animals in your shmups.
True. The second radar back there, you just hang over that spot and you'll uncover it. It can be a little tricky to get the metal behind it, so sometimes you just have to accept like the non-flashy metal value just to make sure you don't get the Megillus to spawn in a bad spot. And then I think coming up here, you can get some good point value if you just get the metals to uncover in a timely manner. Here, I don't do it as effectively, but the way I usually try to do it is hit the rightmost canister there before uncovering the other metals so that you can just pick them up in a row.
Seems like it's set up for some careful routing with the metal pickups there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the way I see it is, you can get away with missing a certain number of metals if you're just trying to hit certain score goals, and then it just becomes more tightly focused the higher you want to push it. It's like, even though this is only 6K, there's quite a bit of optimization to be made, and there's another replay out there from another player called Knight2K who has a 7.4 million replay this mode, and wow, his optimization of this is like on a whole nother level.
You got a lot to do with those metals and stuff. Pretty good.
Exactly. So now we come up on the second boss right here. Normally in regular Raiden 2, you could just do an intricate strategy here to just get a quick kill on the boss, but if we want to collect metals here, we actually want to keep this boss alive for a little bit longer so that we can pick up some of the additional Nicholases and metals from the top of these buildings here.
Getting Black Heart like vibes with all the planes.
So the spread isn't too bad to dodge, at least in Novice mode here, because it's a bit slower than what I'm used to in Expert. But if you're playing like this boss, for example, on like Training 1-2, it's so much more faster on Loop 2 rank that you have to be very careful on your positioning. Then we come up here to this version's redemption of the harbor stage, which is nowhere near as brutal as Raiden 2's. There I just delayed the item or the metal unveiling so that I could just pick them off in a row again.
I love those tanks traveling in those tubes. No, sorry for the...
It's okay. Let's see. I don't remember if I get the Megillus here, but yeah, I miss it there. But generally, like that one, you want to be pretty much like going at full speed back to the right to pick it up in time. Over here, you could actually do the same trick as Raiden to where you have the tank roll over the item box to uncover a secret 1-up, but it actually doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do here because you actually lose points not getting the additional flashy metal, and there's no end bonus anyway for no miss, so. Here, there are a couple of these gunboats that will spawn from behind, so it's just a matter of remembering where they're positioned and then just taking them out. Here are time it so that I can get 50k from the Miculus and then pick up these other models here to set up Miculus later on. Then coming up here, I need to kill this item carrier as quickly as possible because near that palm tree on the bottom left, there is another golden radar that we want to uncover to destroy.
How much are those worth, or what's the benefit of that?
The benefit of that is they're turner K on destruction, but in addition to that, later on when you have the Novice course bonus at the end, it adds an extra 20% to your secrets bonus, which will give you another 200k.
Okay, that seems pretty good.
If you just uncover the golden radar but don't destroy it, it's like 15%. And then if you don't uncover it all, it's just 0%. But the secrets bonus will just be the 5 golden radars, so 28% times 5, 100%.
Oh, you get 5% for each uncover and destruction?
No, what I mean is there's 5 golden radars in total, and since uncovering and destroying each golden radar is 20% each, that adds up to 100% for the secrets found bonus at the end.
Thanks for that clarification.
Yeah, no problem.
5 in every level?
No, it's 1 in each level, but there's 5 levels in total for Novice course.
Oh, okay. It keeps adding up the secrets bonus as you go through the levels?
Yeah, so basically once you it's the secret in Novice bonus is just the amount of golden radars you pick up. So it's 20%, then 40%, then 60, then 80, then 100.
Okay, nice.
If you get all of them. Here for this boat boss here, we normally speed kill it, but since we're trying to get all the medals as possible, we actually have to do this strategy here of killing all the side components of this, I guess like giant gunboat boss. It releases in 3 different waves. You have the initial turrets that spawn out, then a set of second that come out like 5 to 10 seconds later, and then the last one at like 15 seconds. One thing to note here is that the actual boss bonus timer does not start until the top cover is blown off. So as you can see, I'm waiting to destroy all the side components here and wait for it to get to a certain position on screen before I go ahead and go for the speed kill. Here I actually screw up and it's a little high on screen, so it's not as effective of a quick kill as possible, but in general, that's the strategy you want to go for.
Very nice.
For maximum enemy destruction and getting all the medals in that stage. Oh yeah, ING, I would say that Raiden DX, if you're just going for a 1-all in expert course, it's easier than Raiden 2 1-all. Like, you'll probably get it faster too because there's less randomness in recovering after a death.
Did talk about that a little bit at the beginning of the episode as well.
Okay, so here, it's similar to Raiden 2 where you just need to point blank that big carrier there. I get that second one dealt with as much as possible and pick off the golden plane so that I can get the fourth golden radar right there, that sort of stone-like section back there. Maybe those are ruins. Yeah, here you can just sit back and enjoy the music because there's not too much to do besides just killing off these enemies.
Oh, that's cool. You can kind of take a little rest here. I just want to interject from the interview on Shmuplations. When Raiden 2 came out, it was only 6 months until Raiden DX was put out, or Raiden DX was put out. So
that's correct.
Amazing.
It came out pretty early in 1994. If I remember, it's like February or March.
They had to strike while the iron was hot, you know, and get that money.
Yeah.
They actually did something very similar to Viper Phase 1, where the old version was not doing very well, so a new version came out less than 3 months later.
That's the blue version, or whatever, or what?
Huh?
The Viper phase. I thought, or there's like a the blue bullet version.
I haven't played much of old versions, so I'm not sure if new version only has blue bullets. But
yeah, I think that was like a thing. I don't know. It's been a while myself.
Yeah, I'll have to talk about it some other time. But
Tomozawa says that in stronger terms, Raiden DX was the quote-unquote true version of Raiden 2, incorporating the feedback of the market. So,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's just a much better difficulty curve across the board and just more in-depth scoring mechanics to keep people in there, because really in Raiden 2, it's just, you get the clear, you get 10 million, and then that's it, unless you want to be crazy, like Boredom 79, push it to like 100 million. So right here, we're setting up for the fourth boss. Here, since bullet speed is slower, you can just stick with red and then getting missiles. Basically, this will be most useful for the point-blank kill at the end here. But you can also use it quite effectively to kill the central block here pretty fast if you don't care about picking up these medals. One thing to do note is that since it's not the same pattern as Raiden 2 anymore, those bullets that are non-destructible will be aimed towards you and need to be able to effectively utilize your screen space to, I guess, misdirect them off the sides to create a gap, then move back to the middle.
whenever I see these like bunker type bosses, I get like Kyokyo Tiger, Twin Cobra vibes, you know, from the
exactly.
First loop boss. Or final boss, first quote, and I put that in quotes.
Yeah, I get that a lot too when playing this. So now we begin the final stage of Novice Course, which is a reimagining of Stage 5. Not too much to say in this opening section besides if you've noticed up to this point, this is the point where in the item order you get something like 7 bomb drops in a row. So it's a crazy amount of lucrative points because in this game it has the same trick as Raiden 2, where if all your bombs are the same color and you pick up an 8th bomb of the same item color, you'll get a 50k bonus.
Oh wow, okay. So that's like cluster versus, what do you call the red bomb?
Thermonuclear.
Oh, the thermonuclear one.
Yeah.
I find that the thermonuclear bomb has kind of like that Toa plan type bomb where there's like that pause, right? It's not like
it's actually
instant.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like the Same bomb if it were a bit slower coming out. So yeah, I deliberately moved that way so that I can get rid of the sniper tanks coming out from the sides there. because otherwise it's very easy to get sniped off screen. There, I tried to position myself to cover that radar like I just did there. That one's actually hard to get if you aren't on the top of the screen for a bit there before the enemy wave fires off. Other than that, yeah, you just have to deal with whatever these guys are, like the turret tanks on like the monorails with the sniper tanks coming out from the sides. It can get a bit dicey to try to chain everything and not get sniped.
Man,
You
the
also
the last sniper tank there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting from those those rail tanks, I'm getting the like slap fight Alcon vibe. Or I think. But correct me if I'm wrong. Like the ones that are on rails.
It's been a very long time since we played slap fight, so I'll have to check that out. But you can tell, like, even this novice course, they're still not really playing around because you still have to be pretty cognizant of your surroundings. So even though it's a titular novice course, like, it's still probably as difficult as like a basic like toe plan clear, I would imagine.
I always love these sections with the tanks, with like the roads, because then you can just look at the roads to see where the tanks are going to come from. Oh, it's always nice.
Yeah, I like that sort of visual design. Like, it also is great for memorizing stage layout because it's a landmark that basically you instinctually remember, like, okay, this is where it's going to appear.
Yeah.
And coming up here is this stage 5 boss, which has less health than its stage 5 boss counterpart in Raiden 2, but you can still effectively handle it the similar style. You just pull off the center components as soon as possible to make sure the turrets don't hit you.
Anybody getting some Battle Garega vibes with the jet exhausts? Right?
This came up before Garega though.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like where Battle Garega like takes this as a homage, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah. Here you point blank this phase ASAP to make it move to the next phase. They actually remove the opening safe spot here that you could do in 2, so you have to dodge that first pattern. But then afterwards, you could actually just stay above it when it does the long circular spread, like right here. And then I'm just waiting until it does that circular pattern, like counterclockwise, before going in for the phase change. So yeah, there I just use a bomb because the way the angle came out is just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to kill it in time.
Is the movement like predetermined for this boss?
Oh, so yeah, I think the way the movement of the boss is determined, but the main issue of that last phase there is the bullet spray that it does for that attack there is random.
Oh.
On lower speeds, it's not. You can actually kind of read it and get a sense of, I need a bomb like here, but on higher speeds, like Raiden 2's version of this, as well as Expert, as well as if you're doing it on like Novice 1.5 rank in training mode, it's just too hard to read. So what a lot of players will do on training 1.5's version of this is actually just time out the second or third phase.
Finish novice stage.
So there it's calculating overall enemy destruction rate, secrets found, and then this fighting spirit gut speeder, which it's a little weird, but basically it just is a measure of your aggressiveness. So bombing and dying translates into higher values. It's also theorized that spending time in the upper half of the screen, killing enemies up close, grazing bullets, and or properly timing metals can raise the value, but Saucy doesn't know if any of these criteria hold. There's also a trick you can do for this where you can consistently get a high fighting spirit bonus if you keep your player's side start button depressed for the entire game.
see
So
here.
what people do is put a pin in their keyboard, put like a coin and like the keyboard button or switch just to keep it high.
That's like the can on the button vibes from Reagan.
I guess it'd be like you're showing off
Yeah.
if you were doing that without a can of Coke or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use this trick yet in my runs, but yeah, you can get it to be a bit more consistent because I've had times where the guts bonus just massively drops, and I don't know why that happens, but it's just something to keep in mind. I
Maybe
guess.
too much wiggling.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, nice run. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one's off the community record, but I know like there are a lot of spots that could be improved upon. So at some point, I do want to come back and improve upon it.
All right, so what else we got here? The expert run. How does that going to differ from our novice here?
So expert doesn't have any of those like course bonuses you see at the end there, but it's similarly to Raiden 2. It's got 8 stages plus 1 extra stage if you fulfill certain conditions. And in general, I'll probably just recommend like don't worry so much about pushing score in this mode first before survival, because of just the overall longer length and just later stages. That metal layouts can be very hard to pick up when you're getting sniped on the sides.
Yeah, I see why we were going to do a part 2 because we got another 45 minutes in this replay.
Yeah.
So let's just get into it and then continue explaining some stuff.
Sure.
Okay, I'm at 0 with Expert PB 2-3, 4.1 million points.
Correct.
I'm 0 too.
I'm at 0-0 as well.
Okay, I'll count us down this time.
Okay.
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
All right.
Well, as you can see, the different refresh rate of the board at 55.408 hertz, kilohertz.
That's actually the same as Raiden 2's. It's like a non-standard like refresh rate.
Yeah.
You can go ahead if you want.
Oh yeah, so that was kind of talking about capture cards. Like some things were like, oh, can it handle like the infamous Seibu Kaihatsu PCB like refresh rate? So that just a little trivia for y'all hardware, PCB hardware fanatics out there.
For sure. One thing I should mention is for my auto fire setup, I am using 30 hertz for button 1, 30 hertz for button 2 just for a quick bomb deployment, and then I also have a 8 hertz for button 1. That's mostly for low power recovery, since like when you're at 30 hertz, it's kind of like that in other Toadline games too, where you have too high of a refresh rate on or firing rate on low powered shots. It creates these big gaps and you effectively can't hit enemies as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, because like your shots go too far, and then there's a gap, and you can get that'll get complicated when like airborne enemies get right.
Correct. Yeah. So totally at that point, it's more about like the precision of like I need to kill this versus like overall speed of how the shots come out.
Yeah. I did. Like I would do something where I'd have auto fire on the button, and I would like stagger my button presses on that auto fire button to kind of get like more of a continuous spread. So yeah, I totally feel that.
Right.
And also, probably worth mentioning too, in Japan they often have the cabinets built with multiple auto fire buttons. So I have to imagine this game is probably outfitted in a bunch of different cabinets at some point throughout time with different auto fire buttons.
I could see that. Yeah.
Probably. If it's useful, it usually is a thing.
Right.
I find.
One thing I'll just say quickly about this opening stage here is, again, it's kind of like Raiden 1 where you want to effectively get your weapons up to the upgraded form of the ship by the time you're at this walker boss here. there are some enemies that do come from the back end stage one that you have to be cognizant of, like the middle section back there. So you need to plan your route a bit accordingly to take care of that before they snipe you from behind or the sides. Watch out here for the second walker because another tank will spawn from the side and snipe you if you try to go for the classic point blank trick too quick.
I feel that so much. Like I'm playing Sky Shark, Flying Shark, Kishozame, and like it's the sniper tank on the left that's coming out of the jungle, you know, or the boat on the right. You know?
But it's interesting here because it's like some of the way that the enemy placement is like differentiated is in order to kind of like trip even like experienced Raiden 2 players. Be like, you thought this guy was going to pop out here? No, he's coming out here. Or wasn't anything here? No, we're going to make you work for that. So what I'm doing here, you're wondering why am I not killing that item carrier? This is actually because you want to manipulate the item order of until for later. Because if you kill that item carrier and all the item carriers that come after that later, you're going to come on the stage 6 boss and the last item carrier is going to drop a bomb and you're going to be like, what the hell? I don't have the right weapon for the boss. So by effectively not killing that item carrier there, we'll ensure that later on when we get to that boss, it'll drop a weapon change item so that I can change to the blue laser and kill the boss much more easily.
Nice.
Wow. That's so cool. You plan for that like this far back in the game at this stage.
Yeah, because I had like a bunch of runs beforehand where that happened, and I was like, well, I guess my run's dead because that boss just takes so many resources if you don't have the right weapon or you don't have alternate.
Right? You only have spread shot.
With spread shot, you might be able to get away with maybe using a bomb and then point blanking the boss. With like missiles, but then it doesn't set the next stage. You're not going to be well set up to deal with the enemies that pop out from there. Like that's the problem.
That sounds like your innovation. Like you didn't read or watch that, right? Or
well, I think Saucy mentioned it before, but I don't know if it's just I don't know if it's mentioned in the guide or just a quick blurb here and there in like a forum post from a long time ago.
I see. Cool. Thanks for including that here.
On the second mid tank here, after you destroy the main section there, you can actually go above it to avoid the spread it shoots out and then just move back down and kill it quickly. I think it's a much easier way of taking care of that because you have sniper tanks on the left that you don't want to deal with if you move the screen like to the left horizontally. Because this game, like Raiden 1 and Raiden 2, has the scroll offset trick where you can pan the screen towards the left and right to block enemy fire that comes out from either side.
I remember playing a Raiden cab where the right side of the screen was cropped off, and so I would just stay on the left side since I couldn't see the right side, and since I did that, I didn't have to deal with the right side of the screen at all.
Jeez. Yeah.
Because it was like it'd be to my advantage to do that.
Yeah. Pretty clever.
Well, wasn't a Raiden like some of your at the bowling alley one of your first experiences? I know you brought that up.
Oh yeah, the Raiden Fighter's Jet was like when my mind got blown to shmups. Because like those like some people there who actually like were doing some of the scoring, and I didn't even know that shmups had scoring, you know.
Yeah.
So it was like more obvious. Well, I knew that they had score, but I didn't know they had like scoring tricks, and like it was obvious watching them that they were like doing, you know, like little extra things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so that boss back there, even though it has the same similar quick kill strategy to Raiden 2's second boss, you do have to worry about those exploding canisters at the sides, and in order to effectively point blank and get the quick kill there, you need to understand the angles the bullets shoot. When the second canister explodes, you have to understand where the angles the bullets that shoot from it pop out so that you can squeeze in the gap and continue to do I also set this up at the beginning of the stage so that I can hopefully get homing and then get the flashing metals manipulus there.
You talked a little bit about switching shot types. What motivates you to switch missile types?
Because for the first couple stages, you likely won't be a full power, so the idea is you have the straight missiles to do extra damage on like bulkier enemies like the stage 2 mid-boss tanks, as well as point blanking like the first couple bosses effectively. And then when you get later on, like stage 3 onwards, and you switch to homing, you usually you want the larger area of coverage from the sides. As you can see, like it makes it more consistent to take care of like the enemies that spawn from the sides. Versus if missiles, you would have to be much more meticulous at stopping enemies before they come out, and even with that, it might be easier for you to get point blank in the face and then die.
Well, thanks so much for that clarification. We already got some.
That makes sense.
Yeah, no problem. I think it's like this in most of the other Raiden games as well, at least the classic ones. So remember, there's a very similar thing in Raiden 1. You switch to homing in stage 3. You also switch to homing for Raiden 2 stage 3 as well for just more effective area coverage. Yeah, so you got these little turret tanks that pop up from the sides here. You just have to, you can go in between them if you want. You just have to make sure you don't get hit by a sniper tank from the side. Just plan your movement accordingly. A couple of sniper tanks will pop out pretty fast from these little shacks or whatever. So
yeah, they move real fast.
That was a Leroy Jenkins moment from that guy.
Yeah. It's like, I'm gonna get him!
There's a very funny one later on stage 8 they'll have to get to it. Because
cool.
I've seen people like copy pasters during this game, and when they got spooked by that one, that was hilarious. So it just drifts out from like hiding spot. So I'll make sure to point it out.
Cool.
Coming up here, you have these little bases on the sides. You can quick kill the first 2 pretty well, but then you need to just wait for that tank to come out before killing the 3rd, and then trying to get rid of the turrets on the 4th one before taking care of that. This boat here, which has kind of nasty patterns to deal with, since you have to deal with tank fire at the same time. That wasn't super clean the way I did it there, but effectively you just try to misdirect the bullets aimed at you while still remaining in a gap pretty safely. Stage 3 boss. This one is a similar quick kill strategy, although you can actually kill it much faster compared to Raiden 2's version. Just sit on top of it, it dies pretty quickly. If you do get a slower auto fire rate, you might need to use a bomb on that part to get the quick kill effectively.
Question from Lamisar in the chat. Does this course not have the soul towers?
That is correct. Expert course does not have soul towers, while training course and novice course do.
There you have it.
Yep.
Interesting difference, I guess.
Yeah. It might have just been one of those things where they're just like, well, expert courses, you're already dealing with enough crap that maybe souls is a bit much. So this one is just another ruin stage, kind of like 2. Quick shoutouts to the water reflections here. I always think they look really nice.
Man, that's good.
Like, goddamn. The way the sun's reflecting off of that. Here I'm just timing the kills off those turret guys to make sure it also coincides with the golden planes appearing on screen. Here you do have to be a bit careful with the way that you position yourself here by staying on the left as you come up on the side of the screen here. Take care of those sniper tanks that pop up at the sides. Otherwise, you'll probably get hit by this on the side. Also, I don't think I showed it off as effectively in this run, but you can also delay the uncovering the metals there to pick off more after that big tank there fires off the first spread. So that's something I'm going to incorporate in future runs. Other than that, this section is just, you need to, yeah, there, that was close with the golden plane, but you want to effectively sweep from the sides to take care of the tanks that pop from both sides of the screen. And it really kind of shows how player 2 just has much more of an advantage being able to cover the screen and take care of those.
Those rising pillars that shoot at you are, they're very, like, kind of in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be easy to miss. Here, there's a very nasty ambush with the sniper tanks. I actually do count them off so that I can remember, like, you know, kill these 3 tanks here, go off to the left, then go back to the right. There are also more that appear from the trees from the side and then also from behind you. So you need to be careful of that when taking care of this tank. Because if you move up too quickly, you'll probably get sniped from behind. Over here, there's this item canister where if you've actually noticed the game up to this point, this is where you'll get your one and only 1-up drop. And this also happens in subsequent loops if you no miss up to that point.
Satisfying.
10 or 1-up.
Right here, I hang to the left to take care of that tank that pops out from the left there, and then move a bit over to the right so they can misdirect the statues and their, like, bullets they barf out.
I like your homing missile took care of that tank behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like, oh, thank
Very
you.
effective. All right, so now for this boss here, I think I probably mentioned this in the novice run, but you have to be cognizant of the aim bullets it shoots at you and not get hit by a destructible or the grouping of aim bullets at you.
Can you get killed by the lightning that's coming out?
The lightning, no.
Oh.
That just activates the diamond-shaped turrets that are in the ground there.
And as we know, for little Japanese mythology lore, Raiden is like the god of lightning in Japan. So it's kind of neat that they incorporate lightning in this boss.
Yeah, exactly. I think they executed very well there. Also, the point blank there, I actually missed a turret, which is why you see that jerky movement back. And then since I knew I probably wasn't going to kill it in time before it starts firing like that fast spread at you, I use a bomb to effectively take care of it. All right, stage 5. This opening part here is not too bad. Moving in front of these turrets here causes them to activate. So knowing that, you can just pick them off pretty easily.
So I wanted to ask, in your runs, have you ever accidentally picked up like toothpaste laser, and how did it feel?
Yes.
You do. So tell us.
Yeah, like at first, like the first couple times picking up, I'm like, oh, this is cool. It's got some additional effects. There are a lot of times though where when you accidentally pick it up, not only doesn't do the damage output you want, but also sometimes because it auto aims onto like the closest enemy, the homing doesn't particularly like always latch on to the most immediate threat, and sometimes you'll just get killed by stuff that it should have locked onto but didn't. Like even thinking about this section right here, like it might lock onto some random tank that you can deal with later, but not take care of like the immediate tank that's right in front of you.
You know what? Someone needs to reprogram the toothpaste laser in this game to do more accurate like threat assessment, and then I bet you the rise of toothpaste laser. So here's a missive to anybody who's willing to take that on. Reclaim the toothpaste laser.
Well, they had in Raiden 5 like the plasma that has like the 3 tendrils, I think.
Yes.
So that one's a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah. That would be interesting if they could actually incorporate that into a game like this. If they actually want to go back to that sort of design at this point, though, because I have a feeling they're trying to take Raiden in a different direction, and I am not entirely sure how that's going to work out. We'll see. If they decide to make another game.
Yeah, I don't know. Moss is kind of, apparently a lot of their people have left the company.
Aren't they doing the Mikado like Raiden remix, right? That's coming out. So,
right, but that's just like new tracks, like new music tracks.
Yeah, there really is like nothing gameplay new.
Like the newest thing they've released is like the Dragon Maid game, and my initial impressions of that are not very positive. I'll just say that.
God.
Yeah.
Hopefully they maybe do remake that game. I would love to see like a good Moss game again.
Yeah, they probably just need to hire some additional staff, because I know they're working on the new Macross game that's coming out, I think, later this year, supposedly.
Macross?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was announced like probably a week ago. But...
Oh, whoa. I didn't hear about that.
Because the trailer itself was just like a few static screenshots just showing off like a work in progress. So it's just more of kind of an informational trailer, like here's what's to come.
Kind of excited.
Right, so for this boss here, it's not too different from the one I showed you earlier, but the fourth phase did get I think a much better change in bullet patterns. But here you can just utilize as the safe spot in the background when it does the subsequent like long spread from the top. I wait until it does the fast spread in the middle here, and then force it to go into the fourth phase. Now instead here I'll do this sort of kind of circular spread, and then do this like aim pattern menu where it shoots like destructible bullets like in the middle of it. I do this the long way here, but if you use more effective point blanking and manage to get to the top, you can actually kill that in like 2 cycles or a little bit less.
Did have a question from the chat. How many hours of practice with Raiden series to get to this skill level?
Oh, geez.
Or maybe he meant level, like the actual level 5, but probably skill level.
Yeah, so for skill level, so my prior experience, because I actually cleared all the Raiden games last year, but before this, I maybe invested 20-25 hours into Raiden 1, and like, let's say 10 or so hours into Raiden DX for just a basic training novice clear. As for actually getting to expert and clearing this, I think this one took me around maybe 30-40 hours. For comparison's sake, Raiden 2 took me like 80-85 last I remember, and then Raiden 1 was like, to actually clear it again was another 10 or so hours, so that's probably about 30 in total. But keep in mind too, I feel like I'm a bit of a slow learner sometimes, and what also did help too was if you have experience from other old classic games like Toe Plant stuff, those fundamentals do carry over into this game.
For sure.
Nice.
Alright, so we're in the space levels now, which is new to the expert.
Well,
route.
right into it. They're new stage layouts, but the environment's like, and right into like the stage 6 being space as well onwards. It's just
right. I meant as compared to our novice run.
Correct.
Which we just watched.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's just all new enemy layouts.
Nice.
At that start there, you just want to be careful with the sniper tanks coming out from the sides because a couple of their spawns are delayed. So if you don't get those, they'll hit you on the sides. Here you also have to be careful. You can see them hiding beneath those like crystalline asteroid structures there. So there's a bit of a like practice that you have to do to like remember like the timing of when they come out and how close they'll be relative to your position, where you need to position yourself to take care of them.
I noticed with the Zako, like they're coming at you so fast, but they also shoot like right as soon as they appear on the top of the screen. So it's like,
yeah,
my mind is like, oh, the enemies got shot down. Yeah. Oh no, there's bullets still coming. So they're like, the bullets are kind of
exactly. And like even there, like I have to seal the tanks for that big enemy there, so that you kill them, avoid the shots from the guys coming from the top of the screen, then avoid the spread that gets shot out.
I'd love to have been a fly on the wall where they're like, how about we have the Zako moving so fast and they shoot like immediately rather than when they appear and then they shoot at you and then they so it's like, oh, shoot them first and they won't shoot at you. But this one, it's like, no, you can't stop them from shooting at you because they shoot like at the top.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like they still kept, I think, to the mentality of like this needs to be a more difficult game than like Raiden 1, even with the more gradual difficulty curve that expert mode has compared to Raiden 2, where there are some really big peaks early on and it's just kind of all over the place, I feel, difficulty. Coming up here, I tried to kill those little bases up there as quickly as possible because, as you can see, that tank with like the 3 cannons on it appears really quick. You don't want to get hit in the face with that.
And this stage is really cool. I love how the crystals are see-through, and they even had like the crystal like river like frozen over or something back there. And then I guess it plays to the lore too or whatever, because like the bosses usually are like that crystal core.
Yeah, I mean the enemies are like now officially canonized, like the crystals and stuff.
Yeah,
you're right, the Carnassians or
whatever. The Carnassians.
They talk about it a lot in Raiden 5. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so this boss here, it actually got buffed down quite a bit compared to its Raiden 2 counterpart, where the main core cannon that shoots this like oblong like yellow bullets, now it only shoots like the one in the middle and then the 2 to the sides instead of the more closely dense version in 2, where that was always really annoying to deal with, where you just had to bomb basically because there's just very little you have to work with in safe spots, whereas here you have a lot more room to work with. It's probably just because there's bigger gaps in the bullet patterns. Yeah.
Jams.
Yeah, the soundtrack by Ghost Auto, of course, classic melodies.
So classic, they just used it for all of Raiden 4.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I love those arranges, they're so good too.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah, so at this beginning part here is quite a bit tricky because you have the same, just all those like little enemies coming down on screen, but effectively when practicing for like reducing my bomb usage here, one of the things you do have to do is basically move in a way that you create a gap in their firing pattern so that afterwards you can, squeeze in between that gap and move back to the left to kill those enemies from the top. here I screwed up and activated those turrets, which you do not want to do. Yeah, so there I probably wasn't playing this as safely as I probably could have been, and this will cost me in terms of bomb usage later.
So you use laser here, huh? Oh wait, no, you just changed.
I didn't
back.
want to. I just didn't change back in time.
Oh, okay.
This mid boss here, you want to use a bomb in it because it's actually pretty tricky to do. No bomb. When that top blows off, you need to effectively get out of the way. Here, I knew I wasn't going to get back over in time, so just bomb it for safety.
In Raiden games, it's so useful to know, generally have a route for like where you're going to use your bombs, and then where like you can use panic bombs.
Yeah.
So that you have bombs for the when you need them. And
right.
whatnot.
Yeah, because there I definitely went off route. Could have been much worse, thankfully.
Of course, this run's been great because you haven't died yet, so you haven't lost your overall bomb stock.
That's true, yeah.
So that's always nice.
Like, you have so much more resources when fully powered up. You just, when you die, you get reduced back to that 3 bomb stock and base power unless you get the item. Like, you just feel so much weaker in comparison.
Well, another Moss game in Caladrius, when you die, you don't lose your overall bomb stock. That's nice.
Yeah.
Or in Guwange, either.
Yeah, here, this part is actually pretty easy once you've worked it out. It's basically moving left to right, and just making sure you give yourself enough room to get out of the way of the bullets and then cut back over when the next wave spawns.
Ooh. Oh, yeah, man, I was like...
there,
I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's the bomb.
This part I have visibility issues with, so sometimes it's very easy to get cornered. But the strategy is still the same. Like, you just want to point blank the main section of this boss ASAP.
Man, that's freaking awesome how it came out like that. And you nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's actually... It's actually pretty quick, because in this version, you can't just sit on top of the boss core like you could in 2. You actually have to move to the left or right side to avoid the initial bullet spread it does from the side components.
You ruined the majesty of that boss. How do you feel?
Feel powerful. Get on this level.
Who knows what it would have done?
I think I actually tested it out in the safe states, and yeah, it gets nasty if you let it live. Like, it'll just shoot this like nasty circular pattern that it takes so long to go around the screen, and then shoots these like aim streams at you. It's very, very annoying to deal with. I get cornered again, bomb. Have to bomb. This section here, I probably should have been a bit more aggressive when taking that out, but the general idea is you get rid of those guys shooting the spreads that go outwards while taking care of the turrets and making sure they don't entrap you. Overall, this stage does have some rework components to make it quite a bit longer than blurb of the last stage that 2's was. So now you got these guys firing off those patterns.
Oh my god.
You got it timed out so they're like kind of going down the center of the screen. Kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly. And it timed down the center so that I could take care of the tanks and just not get hit when I need to switch back.
Oh. Did you pause in your sweeping sometimes to like avoid some bullets, like streams?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's beneficial just so that you can anticipate next action and then move back up as needed. Here is point blank. You watch out for the tank that pops up from the tree there. Though.
Oh, was that the one?
That's the one that's killed by a tree. And it's like, whoa. Like,
just the little bush there.
Yeah.
It's like,
so
Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah. That mid-boss tank there, I try to kill it ASAP. I've worked out how you could do that, like no bombs, but never really got to the point of actually implementing that in streams or runs that I would do past this point.
Do you find it's hard, like when you get so far in a run and you're like, I want to try like not using the bomb?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the problem. It's like there's just so much risk involved too, because just even slight variances of like, oh, I popped this off too early, so now this enemy wave is coming faster than anticipated.
And yeah, the fatigue is real, and you're like,
And not only that, but like, so I should also mention, like, in this version of the game, if you want to access the secret 9th stage in this course, you have to no bomb and no miss the entire game up to that point.
Wow. Oh my god.
Oh dang.
That I should have probably stuck to the sides and just utilized angle manipulation from the spreads of the statues there, but didn't quite get into position in time. I had to improvise a bit. There, that works a bit better. And then now you just come across this final hallway there where you just need to effectively sweep, take care of these enemies coming from multiple sides.
Man, yeah, no bombs either. So like,
Huh? No, I had 3 bombs.
or I mean, for that secret stage, you said that was a condition.
Oh, you go through the toothpaste laser for
Oh,
here.
actually, that was a screw up there because I actually didn't want to pick it up. And I was like, is that blue?
Shit.
And then at the last minute, I realized, oh, crap, it's plasma. So I'm just going to have to raw dodge this.
Oh my
So
god.
interesting fight here.
Okay. Wow.
It's especially bad because I can't utilize the safe spot on this boss like you could if you were, for example.
How are you feeling? You're like, oh my gosh.
My
like,
nerves were, yeah, my nerves are kind of shot because I was like, damn it, I want to at least get one no miss run, but well, you'll see.
And look at your friend toothpaste laser. It's like, how about this one? Should I go for this one?
Yeah.
How about this
so
crystal in the middle? And the tank's like, aha.
Yeah, so there I accidentally moved back and then get hit by the spread.
Oh, okay.
So then
Back
I'm
to
just
toothpaste.
Still
Yep.
cursed with toothpaste.
Yeah, curse of toothpaste.
Oh my gosh.
But now I kill all the crystals back, so there's nothing that I can really fire with. I guess that's the nice part of having bombs in stock.
Wow.
So-
There's the rub, right? You're like, okay, now I'm gonna use the safe spot. Oh no, toothpaste laser.
Yeah.
But good on you for keeping at it.
Yeah, I mean, I like know what to do if I get back to that point again. Just, you know, if it's not like the item I need, just don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's better than like taking a weapon that I can't use as effectively.
Very nice.
So
nice.
that's stage 8. If you don't get the no miss, no bomb requirement, the game will just put you back into stage 1 on Loop 2 rank, but doesn't give you the 1 million special bonus.
Oh.
Man, it's like who's playing this though, and it's like this run I'm just not gonna use bombs at all. See what happens.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know. You could say like there's a certain subsection of scores that were already like no missing, no bombing, like other games at the time, probably just shooting the shit.
It's like,
I wonder what
whatever.
happened. I would have loved to see like the first time someone no miss, no bomb, and like there's a secret stage.
Yeah, that would have been pretty crazy, honestly. Even though I think from what I've seen in gamers magazines, people already just dissecting this game like really quick back in the day.
Okay.
Like, even in like the expert, even like the training course, which has those extra loop requirements to access novice on loop 2 rank and expert on loop 3 rank, that was done like less than a year.
What's in here? Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
See, that's what you get with no social media here. You can just play Raiden DX all the time.
Yeah,
No
exactly.
Instagram or TikToks.
Yeah, it pretty much would just be down to like your local arcade or just any magazines you pick up, because usually like, well, Gamers will cover like new stuff that release, and then usually a couple months after have these articles where they create like these little like strategy guides of like their little Q hand draw maps like the stage layouts kind of guide you, like, here's how you do this, or generally. So yeah, here I get a couple stages into the second loop, but there's some like weird stuff that I'm not particularly used to yet, so you probably won't be seeing it too far into 2-3, I believe. But the second loop and onwards is basically just increased bullet speed, usually. And over time, it kind of adds up to where certain later stages becomes like a lot more difficult to execute, because the enemies have like less reload time to worry about. Stuff's faster. There's not as big of gaps you can work with to execute the same strategies as before.
I wonder if in Japan, or rather in the arcades. Oop.
Yep, I knew it.
If you want to talk about that death.
Yeah, so with that death, my homing missiles aren't at max. So the problem is when you're at low, if you don't have fully powered up homing, you just don't have the effective screen coverage to get some of those enemies that pop up like the far left. So then you move back over and they're like, oh, you're dead.
Oh my gosh. So how is that P? Like, are you like, I need to get the right
I need
shot
to get it.
at P?
Yeah, but I also try to pick up a sub-weapon item first so that I can effectively at least get fully powered up sub-weapons.
Oh.
So now at least I have a fully powered up like main shot and like sub-shot.
Okay, so the P won't power up if you don't have a sub-weapon active.
No, it will. It
okay.
will only power your main shot. Like if you don't have a sub-weapon, it'll just max out your main shot, and then if you pick up like a sub-weapon, it's like it's measly like level 1 power, and it's like, well, I guess this is better than nothing, but it's not great if I'm in like a very densely packed situation.
Yeah, because that's what caused your death the first time, right? Like
correct. Yeah, my homing wasn't like at max, so effectively at that point it's like 4 weak missiles that like home onto the enemy kind of slowly. It's not good when you need to take stuff out ASAP.
Wait, I was gonna say, I wonder if in the arcades if they ever had like guidebooks that were made by the players that like were just accessible by everyone when they from like maybe you could ask like at the front, or if they had them like next to a cabinet or anything.
There were probably like basic guidebooks just done by publishers, because I think I know Gamers has done like their own like race storm guides and stuff like that back in the day. There were probably other companies that did so as well, but for like very intricate like strategies, I have a feeling that with some of the stuff I've read elsewhere, that's likely something that was probably just shared within like player groups, if anything. Just they would make their own notebooks, just detail strategies, and kind of share it with people in their in-group.
Right.
Oh my gosh, I'd love to see one of those like player group like notebooks. Like, how cool would that be?
Yeah, it would.
Wow.
Like,
I know in Japan too, it's like the whole guidebook culture was like way bigger than it ever got in America.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, America didn't really have any sort of like serious competitive magazines when it came to like arcade gaming.
Right.
And then the only organization that was covering arcade games, if they even were active at this point, is like what, Twin Galaxies?
Yeah. And so
we
I
had
was
like
just recently
Prima and whatnot. Go ahead.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I was just recently in Tokyo at Taidohei a couple of weeks ago for vacation. Yeah. So I was hanging out with Trap 15, and there are just people watching, like a super player playing Gradius. I think it was either 3 or 4. And
nice.
So there are people that watch a lot, but the player didn't seem to be part of like a circle per se, because I was watching him and I didn't see after his run where people would come up to him and go like, yeah, that was awesome, you know?
Yeah.
He just got up and left. And so I don't think like the people, like he wasn't part of a player group that at least the people watching him weren't. And so later I was in Akihabara Beat with Trap 15 and this other fellow Steven. And so he was there. He was like, you know, probably like, I'm gonna play at Taito Hey and then come back. And then I congratulated him, and he kind of turned around and walked away. And I bowed to him too. And I was like, Sugoi, Gradius, you know. And he's like, he noped out of there, you know. So
interesting.
Yeah. So I hope sorry, Gradius super player, for freaking you out. I'm just you know, just wanted to congratulate you because really cool. So
well, you know, the type of guy who super plays Gradius, probably grumpy.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, having to fight throughout all that, like, depowered at the checkpoint, right, is just like,
I mean, that's why there's terminology either like Gradius 3 Uncle or like Tatsuno Uncle.
Tatsuno Uncle. Like the Gradius Oyaji's, right? Tatsuno Oyaji.
Yeah, so as you saw there, if you let the boss do the spread out, it's crazy fast, like Loop 2 rank.
Damn. There's that guy on YouTube, Gradiuser. He still does like live run to Gradius 4, and it's like 4-hour stream of Gradius 4, and it actually was like 1 credit. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. Actually,
hand to them. Shout outs to Alimone. First episode of STG Weekly was Gradius, you know.
Oh yeah.
Gradius.
He always has the crazy setups. I seen him post some stuff.
Yeah.
I forget what the last thing I saw him do some crazy setup for was. Probably Gradius 4 actually. Still.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these like games that have like a great amount of depth, it creates this like player base of people that just are really dedicated to the art of just how far can you go. Ooh, yeah, that gets sniped.
That was a rough snipe.
Rough snipe.
I didn't get over to the left in time, so that guy popped out like right next to me.
Good run though. GG.
So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that was cool.
I definitely know I could push it further. Just actually need to do more practice on the second loop, and too many good games, too many goals.
MGS.
Is that Metal Gear Solid?
Snake.
Yeah, those are my initials. Yeah.
Oh wow, cool.
Pretty
That's so
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, it's a great moniker, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
Snake. Maximo.
Make a special retcon version of that.
Yeah. So there's going to be a part 2. Any like, should we start wrapping it up?
Did you want me to just talk about the expert stage 9, or at least show off that portion?
Yeah, let's do that. So cue that up.
We got one more thing then.
Yeah.
We'll show the stage, this secret stage from the No Miss No Bombs that we talked about.
Yeah. Keep in mind, in export version, you actually do not need to meet this requirement. You just need to beat stage 8. You can use continues even.
Oh, cool.
So it's nice.
Can we go to like 34 or 40? Because when I
3440? Okay.
Yeah, because when it was like playing when I loaded it.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool.
It's fine.
Okay.
3440. Okay, cool.
Correct.
I'm at 3440.
Yep, same.
Okay, I'll count it down. 3, 2, 1, go.
So, in the Japanese version, you met the no miss no bomb requirement. You would see this at the end of stage 8, which indicates you met the secret requirement in order to access stage 9.
That spray, it's like,
yeah.
Wait, what mode is this again that lets you get here without no miss no bomb?
So if you play any of the export ROM sets, so that's like UK, US, etc.
Oh,
pretty much anything besides Japan, you can access the stage, even with continues. No requirements needed. One thing to note in this stage, you need to be pretty on point with your route here, because if you die at all, there are checkpoints and multiple of these throughout the stage. Like, if you die pretty much before the last checkpoint, you can pretty much kiss your run goodbye because you just don't have the power to deal with the enemy threats, even if they're not as difficult as stage 8. There's just too much for you to handle at your base power because you can have points where like you'll die, the full P will spawn on screen, but the checkpoint will send you to an earlier place and you just don't get the P.
Oh,
Right.
no! How peed off will you be when that happens?
It happened like 2 times, like on previous runs, and it's just like, man. I also had this in a live demonstration where I made it on the export version to this part right here, got sniped by a tank on the side, and then just couldn't get any power-ups to respawn to get past the checkpoint.
That's horrible.
They had those
That was
dang-
intentional.
Yeah, they had those dang checkpoints in Raiden Fighter's Jet real phase too. And you get to like the end of the game,
That is super rude.
and I guess it's like good for making money if someone's like, "Damn it, I want to finish this game," or "What the hell?"
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
damn, it's too hard. I guess I give up.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
To like, insert coin.
I actually had
Please
seen
think.
a guy on the RFJ cab who was doing that. And he was like, I just wanted to see the end of the game. And we just kept on like continuing.
Oh, yes.
The credit feeding, yeah.
I bombed back there because the Zako decided to randomly... The Zako from the top randomly spawn. It's a carryover right into... sometimes they'll just pop up in spots that you just can't hit stuff effectively in time when I'm trying to point blank, like the bigger enemies, so you have to bomb. In general, my route though, I try to make sure I have one cluster bomb left over for the actual boss itself, so that you can quick kill the boss before it does anything remotely threatening.
Nice.
There, that was close. That tank could have sniped me from the sides. In general, you just want to stream from left to right, then from right to left to take care of that last wave. I cut it a bit close there. I probably should have used one of the gaps to move back to the right, but worked out. I also pick up missiles so that I effectively quick kill this boss faster versus homing. It's a giant armored tank. Once you know it switches to that, the crystals floating around, that's when you deploy the bomb.
And that's it.
Yeah, or if you're
Nice.
as gifted as a player as Saucy is, I think he did that version like without any bombs, and then I think he used a bomb on the 2.9 version of that in his run.
Pretty cool. Kind of like dig the giant pipes thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody about there, like, what is that supposed to be? And it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like a metallic structure over the asteroid. But yeah, it'll give you the end of stage bonus. Should also mention too, the end of stage bonuses are exactly the same as Raiden 2, where it's your medals times bombs. You keep your medals if you die in a stage.
Yeah, this is uber virtuoso.
Yep.
Your,
And-
that's you, right? Yeah.
Correct. That's my channel name from like high school.
Dang.
GG's all around. Some cool
GG.
plays.
So
That's
I
fine.
wanted to. Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jamer said, bit of an anticlimactic TLB. Yeah, I mean, it's crazier if you actually let it live, but nobody wants to do that. So
Good stuff. This was fun doing an episode again, and I think it went
Yeah.
pretty well. This was cool.
Yeah, glad to be back. So I wanted to part with a more Kamazawa from Seibu Kaihatsu. So this kind of came up during the game with. The question was: so an STG with adjustable difficulty was an idea you had in mind for a while then. And so this is where he talks about design. So Komazawa-san says, I think it originally came from our consideration of the fact that an arcade game has two sides. One, on the one hand, it's a work of a game creator. On the other, it's a coin-operated product that needs to make money. From the beginning at Seibu Kaihatsu, we didn't treat our games as blank canvases for the developer's ideas or personal expression. On the contrary, we spent a great deal of time trying to raise the quality of the game as a product, asking ourselves questions like, how can we raise the income on this game? How can we get players to keep playing? From those repeated exertions, a great many gameplay ideas were born.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of lines an idea with the fact that, a lot of these arcade coin-op operators, the basic way of how do we balance income and then making sure we care to hardcore and casual players was basically just make the base difficulty really hard, which that created Raiden 2, Same Tatsujin no, where you have these extremely difficult games just to clear offhand. But what ends up happening is that in terms of income, they just don't make as much as they possibly could have, because a lot of casuals are just like, what's the point if this is just so difficult? I can't get out of stage 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So then they probably looked at other games that are on the market, Raid Force was already probably out at that time, and kind of noticing if we have these secondary scoring mechanics here, not only can we cater to the hardcore people, but then we can adjust our difficulty design in such a way so that survival players can just focus on killing stuff and just using their resources as needed, whereas hardcore people will take it to the next level and get all the medals perfectly here, or get all these special training requirements to loop into these other modes, thus creating a more dedicated and I guess stable income stream.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because after this, you see a lot of stuff pop up, Cave came out, they were putting a lot of thought into their secondary scoring systems, even just from Donpachi onwards.
Yeah. And I see that it's the practical that kind of comes up first. Not to say that there's not any art or whatnot or expression in it, but I think it's interesting to see that these cost a lot. They create their own PCB hardware to put the game in. It took 1.5 years, 1.5 years to do that during the 4-year period.
Yeah, the 1.5 is just for planning alone. I think the hardware took 3 in total or something ridiculous.
Yeah. And so that's a lot of money for hardware development and software design being as well. So
correct. So you expect a pretty lofty return when you invest that much.
Yeah. But I think it kind of keeps that material realities kind of keep those that artistic expression or design, game design in check too.
Yeah, definitely. Just sometimes it makes it more structured in a way where just you can actually adjust things to pacing. I think even in that same interview they talk about, we adjust the first stage so that not only is it not long, but that the player can actually reach a boss and enjoy the thrill of fighting against such a big boss, making it feel like my credit is worth it.
Yeah. And it goes to say that you can still care for the player experience as well as this is kind of we need to not go out of business.
Yeah. And just understand you have to make it fun for the player too, having good stage pacing, for example.
And also they briefly mentioned too, Seafarer 2 had been out and all the fighting games are coming out, so shmups had to get better.
Yeah. Wow. In the wake of the fighting games, he had to fight the fighting games inside that space.
The big game changer.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, thanks for watching the return of STG Weekly in the new year. As we can say, all of us have here at STG Weekly have kind of, we've matured in this last 10 years since we've started the show, and we're gonna try to give you like more shows in this coming year, hopefully. But you know, as we get our responsibilities, you know, it's kind of hard to our realities kind of have gotten in the way. But you know, we're still around, so you know, we're here. So thanks again.
Yeah, thanks everyone for supporting the channel and everything and coming out.
Yeah.
And once again, we do have the part 2 coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you enjoy the commentary. I try to do my best when explaining such games in meticulous detail and depth, but I think
You
it
did
went
a great
well.
job, GG. Yeah, I think it went well. You do a great job, ggmaximo. Thanks again for being a host on that.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, see you everybody, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. This is STG Weekly signing off.
Bye, everybody.
See you next game.